What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new, well, it's not a video, I said this last week, it's my football Premier League talk show. I've named it Let's Talk Premier League, basically going off a Let's Play series that I do on Football Manager. I just thought I'll give it a bit of a twist. That's the name we're going with today. Now, this week I did say I was going to try and get some guests on. That's not going to happen. I do have people who have said they will come on the show and they were happy to come on this week, but I just want to trial it for one more week. Obviously, last week I talked for quite some time. If you've not seen it, it was like a 41 minute video. It's going to be nowhere near that this week. I'm going to cut it right down. I wasn't actually planning on talking for that long, but obviously we're going to review last week's Premier League games, so match day 2, and then we're going to look forward to match day 3 and just, you know, get some predictions out there. Now, I'm actually recording this right after match day 2's finished, so, you know, there's League Cup games and a lot of signings could happen during that time, but I'm going off the time of recording this video, which is the 22nd, so it is the Monday. We've literally just finished the weekend, and then the games are next weekend. But let's just stop rambling on. Let's talk about the first Premier League game, and it's the first Friday night football of the season, obviously at Old Trafford. Manchester United playing Southampton. Now, I believe I actually predicted a United victory. I'm just going to take a quick look back. Yes, I did. I predicted a Man United victory in this one, and they did go on to do that. Zlatan Ibrahimovic getting a double. First goal was a header, which was actually quite a nice header, to be fair. Rooney with an excellent cross, and then followed by a penalty. Quite a controversial penalty. People are saying, did he trip him? People are saying, did he trip over himself? I'm not too sure. I do think he tripped over himself, but, you know, they got the penalty. And obviously Zlatan tucked it away for 2-0 to United on the day. Other talking points from the game, Paul Pogba made his Man United debut. A lot of people saying he played very well. I did actually watch the game. I don't think he played very well. I think he played well. I don't think he done anything wrong, but I don't think, you know, people are saying he had an excellent debut, etc. But, you know, for me, he had a solid debut, but I wouldn't go over the top about it. And then the one main talking point I want to actually touch upon, which I don't think many people would talk about, is Southampton's Højbjerg. Now, I've mentioned him in the past, I didn't know how to pronounce his name, but now I've heard the commentators actually say his name, I do know how to pronounce it. This guy's a Football Manager wonder kid, and to watch him actually in the Premier League, he looked a really, really good, talented young player. And I don't know if you've actually seen his post-match interview. He speaks so well. Like, he knows the game so well. He's tactically so aware. It's absolutely incredible, and I do feel like he's going to go on to have a real good season for Southampton. But that was the 2-0 victory for Manchester United. We'll move on to Saturday now, and the early kickoff, which saw Stoke City host Manchester City. That's a bit of a mouthful to say. I actually went with the draw for this game, and it very much could have been. It was a 4-1 victory for Manchester City, which is a lot flattering than you'd imagine. There's quite a lot of talking points from this game. We'll start off with City. I believe they went a goal up, didn't they? I think they actually went 2 goals up. I don't know if I'm right in saying that. I do think they went 2 goals up. Yeah, they did actually, yeah. So the first goal was a penalty. Corner came in, I believe. And who was it? It was Shawcross, I think, holding Otamendi, which, yes, this one was a penalty. Obviously, there's been new rules brought in this season to say if you are holding someone, it's going to be a penalty. And this one was on, like, the higher end of the scale where, yeah, you can see why it's been given. And Aguero just tucks it away, wraps his foot around the ball after he sees the keeper actually go one way, puts it the other, 1-0 to City. Now, the next goal, I believe it came from a free kick. It was a ball played in, and Aguero flicked it on, 2-0 Man City. But then the controversial penalty, Raheem Sterling, people are saying he didn't touch him and so on, which I can understand. He was literally just, you know, holding him ever so slightly. He just put his arm across him. But I think the reason why the penalty was given was the fact he wasn't even looking at the ball. He was looking completely the opposite direction. The ball was coming in from the left-hand side. Sterling was looking completely to the right-hand side. So he had no intentions of following the ball. He was just blocking his man. Now, one thing I do want to say, why in the hell is Raheem Sterling marking Ryan Shawcross, probably Stoke's biggest aerial threat, getting marked by Manchester City's smallest, weakest person? I'm not too sure. Maybe Pep Guardiola's got to look at that, but obviously Stoke get the penalty, and I believe it was Bojan that actually took it and scored. And then Nolito came off the bench for Manchester City and got 2 goals late on. and Manchester City wrapped it up 4-1. But that's what I mean. It could have very easily been a draw because for a large part of the game it was 2-1 to Man City, and Stoke were actually getting forward. And then City just hit them with two very, very quick goals. Pretty much on the counter-attack, and they just passed the ball across, and it was an empty net for Nolito to get both of his goals. But we'll move on to the first of the 3 o'clock kickoffs, and this was the one I don't really want to be talking about, but Burnley beating Liverpool 2-0. Burnley had 2 shots on target, I believe, 2 goals. I watched this game, it was just a nightmare. I tried to move on from it very quick. Liverpool had 81% possession. We basically got FM'd. We had 81% possession and still lost 2-0. To be fair, we just had a lack of cutting edge. We missed Sadio Mane. Daniel Sturridge didn't look great. Coutinho was just shooting from like 20 yards because he scored a free kick last week from 30 yards, and every shot was just going well over. It was just a real disappointing performance. Jordan Henderson isn't a defensive midfielder. Our defence looks shaky because we are obviously missing a few defenders. I still feel like we need a left back. Not great. As for Burnley, I'll just touch on them. Sean Dyche obviously set up for a draw, I believe. Just to not lose, essentially. And then obviously they scored after 90 seconds, so that puts them in the driving seat, because if you set up to not lose and you're a goal ahead within a minute, you pretty much, you can be confident that you're going to get what you want, because they know that they can still concede the goal, and it really won't matter because they've still got what they wanted. But obviously they went on to get another one and just killed all of poor fans' hopes of getting anything from that game. We'll move on anyway. Swansea actually losing 2-0 at home to Hull City. Now, the first goal, I believe it was a corner, and there was a flick on at the near post, and then it just sort of hit Hull City's fella at the back post. So, just a standard Premier League goal, really, just unaware, hitting the ball, it just gets touched in at the back post. But the second goal for Hull City was actually quite a nice one. I was watching it before. It was some cracking build-up play, and then resulted in a really nice goal. I can't remember who scored it. The name just doesn't come to my head. I can't actually think who scored the goal, but it was such nice build-up play from Hull City. And that's 2 wins from 2, 1 against the champions and 1 away from home to Swansea City. Hull City, they come up, everyone's saying they're going to finish bottom, they're going to have a record low tally, all this. Honestly, they're looking alright for now. I don't think it's going to last. This 13 fit players is going to come back to haunt them at some point during the season, but obviously they're enjoying it while they can, and fair play to them. They played really well against Swansea City and obviously got the victory for all their hard work. We'll move on to the next game, and it was Tottenham 1, Crystal Palace 0. Now, Palace have since signed Christian Benteke, although I don't think Benteke was too aware of this. If you've not seen Benteke's Twitter account, I recommend you go and look, because he seemed to think he signed for Burnley. Short after Liverpool announced that the deal had been done with Palace, his Twitter bio turned to Burnley FC player. So, I don't know what Christian Benteke was thinking. He later tweeted out that it was actually his management who actually done that, and they were a bit confused. But obviously, that's 2 defeats from 2 for Crystal Palace now. I mean, Tottenham left it late, very late indeed. So, Tottenham apparently weren't great during the game, but they probably did deserve their victory. I didn't actually see this game. I saw the goal, and another thing I actually seen from this game that I wanted to point out was Eric Lamella's skill. I can't remember who he actually done it on, but just type in Lamella skill versus Crystal Palace on Twitter or on YouTube or something, and it will come up. Oh my god, he absolutely, whoever the player was, he just sent him back. He just sent him anywhere. He just, literally, whatever previous club this player was at, he's just sent him straight back there. He could have broke this guy's ankles. The skill he done was absolutely incredible. And if you actually manage to get the video, there's one really good angle of it where you can see Danny Rose in the background, I believe it is, and he just holds his head in absolute shock. It was actually quite magnificent, to be fair. We're going to move on to, I believe, actually no, there's 2 more 3 o'clock kickoff games. We'll start off with Watford v Chelsea. I didn't really catch much of this game. I can't actually remember seeing Watford's goal, but I've certainly seen both of Chelsea's. So Watford went a goal up, and then Chelsea left it quite late to turn it around to win 2-1. A goal through Michy Batshuayi, which obviously good to see him scoring in the Premier League after making his switch from the French Ligue 1. But obviously, I think it was actually a rebound. I think there was a shot that came in, and then Batshuayi just ran through, and he was the first man to the ball, and tucked it home. And then obviously Diego Costa, what a ball can I say from Cesc Fabregas. He picks the ball just outside of his own box and just sends a beautiful pass over the top to Diego Costa, who just runs through, keeps running, and then just slots it home past the keeper. Excellent finish from Costa. And Chelsea go on to get the victory against Watford. Now, I still have my doubts over Chelsea because I did say that they're going to be hard to break down, but I still feel like they're probably going to be a bit dry on goals. Both of their victories have been 2-1, so only very narrow victories in games against West Ham and Watford, which you'd probably like them to be a bit more comfortable in. So we'll see how that goes for Chelsea throughout the season. We'll move on to the final 3 o'clock kickoff, which was West Brom against Everton at the Hawthorns. West Brom taking the lead, if I remember quite rightly. I've not really seen much of this game, but I did see, was it Kevin Morales' goal? I think it was his goal. It was some excellent build-up play from Everton, and then capped off by a really nice finish from Morales. Now, because I've not actually seen this game, I've not really got much down in my notes for it, but I believe Ronald Koeman still wants to add a few more players. Obviously, Joe Hart's being heavily linked with the club. I do feel like an extra goalkeeper, especially if they're playing Stecklenburg in goal right now, I do feel like Joe Hart will really bring something to that Everton team. I'm not too sure on what other areas they want to improve upon, but obviously keeping Lukaku like being a new signing, because they have been all summer pretty much preparing for life without Lukaku, because he's, rumoured to wanting to leave. But if he ends up staying, that's a superb, bit of business for Everton, especially if they manage to tie him down to a new contract. It will, as I said, literally be as if it's a new signing. As for West Brom, it's Tony Pulis, isn't it? I'm not too sure what's going on there with Saido Berahino. Obviously, Rondon's playing as well for them. I'm not too sure what they've done in terms of transfers. I can't really remember. West Brom are just one of them teams that sort of passed me by, but that's a good thing in a way, because they're not going to be relegation threatened, I don't feel, and I don't really think they're going to challenge towards the top half of the table, but, they'll just get by as they always do. We'll move on to the, is it 5 o'clock, half 5, something like that, kick-off on a Saturday, and it was last season's champions Leicester City against Arsenal. And this was just pretty boring by all accounts. I didn't actually manage to watch it. I was actually out. But, 0-0 on the day. Arsenal would have liked to have bounced back from the defeat to Liverpool. Leicester would have liked to have bounced back from the defeat to Hull City. But I believe Arsenal probably had the better of the chances. I don't really think Leicester actually got forward at all. I noticed I was looking at half-time at the score and Leicester hadn't actually had a shot. I don't know if that stayed the same throughout the whole match. I'm not too sure. But Leicester really don't seem like the same team from last season. It's expected that I never in my wildest dreams imagine that they'll do it again. But they just really seem like they've dropped off quite significantly. A lot of people are starting to say they might even end up finishing in the bottom half of the table. I'm not too sure about that. I do feel like they'll be top half, but I just don't feel like Leicester have got the same, even team spirit. I feel like they're a bit disconnected at the minute. You never know, they may end up clicking again at some point. Let's not forget they actually failed to beat Arsenal last season. They were the only team to actually beat them twice, so a 0-0 draw for them, maybe actually not that bad a result. As for Arsenal, they still need a striker, because, if they're having a dominant game against Leicester and they can't actually score, they're playing Alexis Sanchez up front, I still feel like they need the striker, and apparently Mustafi is pretty much all but done to Arsenal, so that'll be a good signing for them to bolster the centre-back options. Just going to turn the page over right now, because the other games are on the other side. There's only 2 more games, and these are both of the Sunday afternoon Super Sunday. It wasn't that super, to be honest, but it was Sunderland versus Middlesbrough, which I can see why. And to be fair, I can see why West Ham were as well, but we'll touch on Sunderland Middlesbrough first. So the derby up north, it didn't really let us down, did it? It was a great first goal from Middlesbrough. They actually went 2-0 up. What was the guy's name? I can't remember. Isn't he a new fella they've signed? Let's just take a look. I text my mate telling them who scored, as there's a spider right in front of me. What the fuck? Let's see. Just trying to find this guy's name. Really can't see him. Okay, Stuani, is that how you say it? Christian Stuani. He got a first goal and it was an absolute cracker, and he also got the second goal, which was more of a team goal, and then obviously they just passed it across and he tapped it in. And Middlesbrough were 2-0 up. I actually predicted Middlesbrough to win this game. I don't know if I predicted it last week. I think I may have predicted a draw, but just before the game I actually said to me mate, honestly, Middlesbrough are going to win this game. And I do feel like Middlesbrough are actually looking good value for money this season. Obviously, I don't feel like they're going to challenge or anything like that, but I just certainly feel like they're going to be nowhere near relegation. They do look like quite a solid team, and they've invested quite wisely into their squad. As for Sunderland, they got a goal back through Patrick Van Aanholt, and something that was quite worrying for any Sunderland fans, I believe. I'm not too sure if it's true, but what I've seen online was David Moyes was asked about relegation. He pretty much said, yeah, it's going to be another season of another relegation battle. You don't want to be hearing that from your manager after just 2 games into the season. I'd be really concerned if I was a Sunderland fan. But obviously, at least he's being straight with them. Maybe he's just thinking, well, if I say that and then it does happen, they can't really say anything else. They can't say, well, we expected more, because he essentially told us early on in the season. But in a way, you still don't want to hear that. You'd rather have a bit of positivity from your manager, especially because this is going to get back to the players. Somehow that will get back to the players. I know the players say they don't actually listen to media or anything like that, but when your manager has come out and said something like that after just 2 games, it's going to get back to you. Obviously, he does say he wants more players as well, so maybe that will strengthen his squad and his mind might change on that front. We'll touch on the final game, which was West Ham. As I said, I can kind of understand why this was Super Sunday, because obviously it's the first game of the new Olympic Stadium, and it was a 1-0 victory over Bournemouth. Now, there's a few talking points from this game. We actually seen the discipline action thing, for shouting at officials. Who was it? It was Harry Arter that got sent off, wasn't he? He got a yellow card for screaming at the official for, what he seems to think was a poor decision by the linesman. He got booked, and then later in the second half, he actually got sent off for pulling back Cheku Kouyaté before he actually ran through on goal. So he essentially stopped a counter-attack, which is a yellow card offence. But obviously, the 2 yellow cards making the red, and obviously he's going to regret shouting at the official. Eddie Howe even came out and says, just a bit of a lack of discipline let us down today, and obviously he was talking about that. But we'll quickly touch upon West Ham. So I feel like it was quite an average performance, and even the guys on Sky Sports were saying this. West Ham didn't actually look all that great, which is concerning, considering it was the first game at the new Olympic Stadium. You would have liked the players. Obviously, they played other games. They played Europa League games. They played friendlies. But you would have thought, Premier League, first game of the new stadium, let's just put on a performance here, lads. But they just really didn't. They went on to win 1-0, but the goal came after the red card. So, you kind of expected to really go and get a goal after the team go down to 10 men. It was through Antonio who actually got the goal. He was playing in a much more advanced position compared to where he's been playing a few times at right back. I do feel like West Ham are missing Dimitri Payet, and there's a few others that are also still out for whatever reason. I do feel like they'll probably be a much better team when them players come back into selection. But as for Bournemouth, a lot of people I'm seeing are saying, they're going to have this second season syndrome, and they're going to really struggle and potentially go down. If you look at their first 2 games against Manchester United and West Ham, they've not actually played bad at all, and I'm predicting them to stay up, and I'm staying to that, because against United, they played really well up until Juan Mata got that really lucky goal, which was, a stupid pass back, and then it deflected, and, United did end up scoring and going 1-0 up, but Bournemouth looked really good up until then, and then yesterday, they looked really good up until the red card, so even Eddie Howe said they were dominating the game, and that just completely changed everything. I feel like Bournemouth are going to be completely fine. They've got a decent squad, and they're playing quite good football. They've got a great manager in Eddie Howe. So I do feel like Bournemouth are going to be completely fine this season. And going forward, I think their Premier League status is pretty much, confirmed. I know a lot of people are saying it isn't, but for me, it is. Okay, so to wrap up this video, I'm just going to run over the match day 3 matches, and we'll get some predictions going down. So we'll start off with the first game, which is Tottenham versus Liverpool. Now, you're going to get a bit of a notice, like a recurring theme. I never predict against my team, Liverpool, and when I feel like we may lose, I say draw. So I'm going for a draw in this game. I do feel like we've probably got enough to draw against Tottenham. We've got quite a good record against them. I always remember the 5-0 victory with Luis Suarez actually bagging a few goals. I think Jordan Henderson, Raheem Sterling and Luis Alberto made up the scoring in that game. So I do feel like we'll probably have enough to get a draw against Spurs. Spurs, not looking great so far. They tend to be quite slow starters in the early weeks, so I do feel like we can get a draw out of that. Chelsea versus Burnley, Chelsea victory. I just feel like they've probably got enough to see off Burnley, especially if Diego Costa and Hazard and all them can perform to the level they can do. Everton versus Stoke, I feel like Everton have started well under Ronald Koeman. It would be nice for them, not for me, but for them to get their first home victory under Ronald Koeman. I do feel like Everton will have enough to see off Stoke City, although Stoke did actually play quite well against Manchester City, but I'm going for an Everton victory. Southampton versus Sunderland. Again, I feel like Southampton played alright against United. Obviously, Zlatan got a goal through the header, which, they probably should have done better with, but I think it was Højbjerg, actually, who even said Font's probably one of the best headers of the ball, but he's just been beaten by Zlatan, which is absolutely incredible. So, Southampton, they played alright against United. I do feel like they're going to have enough to see off Sunderland, who aren't looking great so far for me. Watford v Arsenal. I've actually gone for a draw in this game. I feel like Watford, put a real test to Chelsea, and I feel like because Arsenal are still, on Arsene Wenger's back to actually get some signings, make some, they're not looking great, to be fair, Arsenal so far. I'm going for a draw in that game. We've got Crystal Palace v Bournemouth. I've actually gone for a draw in this one. I'd actually go for Bournemouth purely because of Palace's poor start to the season. But they're going to have to get a victory at some point, or, at least something from a game. I believe they've lost the last two, have they? I might be wrong in saying that. Did they lose this weekend, Palace? I think they did, and they lost to Tottenham, so I feel like this could be the weekend that both teams actually get something from this. Bournemouth both losing, their games, and Palace doing so the same, so I feel like a draw could be on the cards here. I feel like Leicester versus Swansea in this next game. I feel like Leicester have got to start somewhere, with a victory to sort of defend their title. I don't think they're going to, but I do feel like this could be an ideal chance to actually get the first victory against Swansea, who have just lost to Hull City. I'm going for a Leicester win in that one. Hull City versus Manchester United. I just don't feel like Jose Mourinho's United are going to slow down just yet. I do feel like they will slow down at some point, and that will probably be when the Europa League kicks in. You never know, they might not do, but I do feel like at the moment United have probably got enough to see off Hull City despite their amazing start to the season. West Brom v Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough, again, starting very well. I feel like Middlesbrough probably going to win that game against West Brom, but it could go either way. West Brom, they lost this week at home. They'll want to, make up for that next week. But I do feel like Middlesbrough will probably get an away victory. And Manchester City against West Ham. I do feel like Pep Guardiola will get a victory at home. I don't think it'll be easy for him. We've seen that against Sunderland. It was probably a bit more flattering than it should have been against Stoke. I don't feel like they've started great, but obviously they're getting the victories, which is what you want. So I do feel like Manchester City will get the victory in that game. But that is all for this talk, I'm going to say, rather than video. If you like this series, let me know. Drop a like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, goodbye.